Hello, welcome to Planetside Chats. We're a videocast about vintage science fiction. I'm your host, Will Emmons, and this is the first episode of our second volume. Um, Today we'll be talking about two Martian tales. One, a 1950 story by Ray Bradbury called Death Wish. It appeared in this fall 1950 issue of Planet Stories, real short story there. And then we'll also be talking about a 1979 novel by Philip José Farmer called Jesus on Mars. These are two pretty different Martian tales, so I'm excited to talk about them with you. Before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping. This project is an outgrowth of the Planet Stories podcast, a project I've been working on over the past year that unfortunately will not be seeing the light of day. A lot of good people helped me with that and did good work on it, but I wasn't totally happy with the project and my work on it, so it's shelved for now, and we may use some of the material from that in this video cast. That's how it goes sometimes. Anyway, having that out of the way, let's just jump right into Death Wish by Ray Bradbury. Now, this is a story about two guys named Steinbeck and Craig. Steinbeck is searching for a blue bottle on Mars, and now what's in this blue bottle he doesn't know. And Craig is just along for the ride. I want to read a little bit from the story to kind of summarize what these guys are like. And so this is Steinbeck talking. "Look at it this way, Craig," said Steinbeck. "All of my life I've done nothing big. Everyone else I went to school with, they did something big on Earth, on Venus, somewhere in the system. Now it's my turn." "You're a tramp," said Craig, truthfully. "Not when I get that blue bottle." And so that's Steinbeck. He wants the blue bottle, but he doesn't know what's in it. Whereas Craig, here's what he has to say about himself. He says, "All I ask is a drink, some hot soup, a sandwich, plenty of sleep, no work if I can help it, and I don't need a blasted bottle to excuse my lazy carcass. All right, I'll shut up. Come on. Oh, we'll get into the city." So they're going into this city. It's this ancient Martian city that has towering buildings, and they're going to turn to dust if you do anything. Here's what it describes it as. Sometimes towers as beautiful as a symphony would fall at a cough. It was like watching a Bach cantata disintegrate before your eyes. So Craig and Steinbeck had gone to this Martian city, and they're looking everywhere for it. And Steinbeck is just intentionally breaking things everywhere, trying to find the bottle. It describes all the different kinds of vessels that he finds, and the different colors of the vessels. They're red, pink, yellow, violet, and black glass, and he breaks them all because he wants them out of the way. He wants the blue bottle, although he's not sure why. And then it goes on to say that he was ready to invade the next room, but he was afraid to go on. Afraid that this time he would find it. The search would be over and meaning would go out of his life. It had been with him a long time, this fear that someday he would find the bottle, and what would be left of his life then? Only after he had heard of the bottle of blue glass from the fire travelers all the way from Venus to Jupiter 10 years ago had life begun to take on a purpose. The fever had lit him, and he had burned steadily ever since. If he worked it properly, the prospect of finding the bottle might fill his entire life to the brim, another 30 years if he was careful and not too diligent of searching. So, the bottle is everything to him, but he actually doesn't want to find it. And as we've established, Craig doesn't really care about the bottle, but irony being what it is, Craig, in fact, finds the bottle, and when Craig finds the bottle, he puts it to his lips, and there's a nice draft of bourbon inside, and he's drinking the bourbon out of the bottle, and he finds it refreshing. He takes it to Steinbeck, and Steinbeck can't smell or hear the bourbon in the bottle. And before Steinbeck can open the bottle and see what's in it, a plump rich man comes and steals the bottle from them. He points a gun at them and takes it, and then the bottle is gone. So that makes Steinbeck happy because he didn't really want to find the bottle after all, and he's hoping he can get another 4 or 5 years of searching now that the bottle has been stolen from them. Um, but they take off in their car and they find the rich man on the side of the road dead over his motorcycle, and the bottle is gone, and the rich man is dissolving in this elaborate way. And Craig is like, wow, that must be some kind of strange gun that did this to him. And there's 3 men in the distance on horseback, and it seems like they have the bottle. Now, Steinbeck is more into pursuing the bottle all of a sudden, and he's more into it than ever. But Craig is not going to go after it now because he's afraid of what happened to the rich man. So Steinbeck pursues the men on horseback, and he finds the bottle. And that's when he knows what's in the bottle, ultimately. And I'm going to read from the story. Steinbeck picked up the bottle and held it away from himself for a long moment. His eyes shone clearly. His hands trembled. So this is what I've been looking for, he thought. He turned the bottle so it flashed blue starlight. So this is what all men really want. The secret desire, deep inside, hid all away where we never guess. The subliminal urge. So this is what each man seeks, through some private guilt to find. Death. An end to doubt, to torture, to monotony, to want, to loneliness, to fear, an end to everything. All men? No, not Craig. Craig was perhaps far luckier. A few men were like animals in the universe, not questioning, drinking at pools and breeding and raising their young, and not doubting for a moment that life was anything but good. That was Craig. There were a handful like him, happy animals on a great reservation, in the hand of God. Craig and the men like him, with a religion and a faith that grew like a set of special nerves in them, the unneurotic men in the midst of the billion-fold neurotics. They would only want death later in a natural manner, not now, later. But as we've established, Steinbeck really wants what's in the bottle now, so he takes it and he dies. He dissolves in an elaborate way, and after he's dissolved, Craig comes along and finds the bottle again, and lo and behold, it's just full of bourbon. And he's laughing, all that trouble for a little bourbon. I'll just wait here for Steinbeck and give him his old bottle. Meanwhile, and then he just drinks it. And so that's the story. I thought it was pretty good. I really recommend seeking it out online. I want to do more Ray Bradbury on here because he's one of the best Planet Stories authors, and he's sort of a master of American letters that I haven't spent enough time with. Now, I really enjoyed that story, so I wanted to see how people who were reading Planet Stories back in the 50s felt about it, and I looked up the letter column, the Visiograph from the next issue of Planet Stories, and they were not as keen on old Ray Bradbury as I am. So let me read a little bit of this to you. Let's see. Rose Jakobowitz from Rose Jakobowitz from New York, New York, has this to say about Death Wish. If this be treason, make the most of it. Ray Bradbury's Death Wish was not quite so conspicuous for the reek of the charnel house as was some of his past work, but the general atmosphere was present as usual. It is high time that Mr. Bradbury realized that death is an inevitable experience for all humanity, that there is no reason for regarding it with a morbid delight, and that he is alienating a good many of his readers with his persistent dwelling on the horrors of decay and dissolution. It's true that he possesses undoubted skill in writing and a fine literary style, but if he were to turn his talents to more constructive topics than the graveyard, I believe his stories would enjoy a far greater popularity and esteem than they do at present. By the way, the title Death Wish takes a towering place on the list of poor choices. It gave the whole plot away before the story began. And that was Rose from New York, New York. Okay, and then we have another one here. This is Ray Ramsey from Fargo. And here's what he has to say about Death Wish. Death Wish. Ray Bradbury need never write another word. All he has to say is summed up in that title. I don't like Ray Bradbury. I have no taste for unrelieved morbidity. There was a time when I liked him, I admit, but no longer, and an increasing number of fans seem to be experiencing a like reaction. So those were the main two comments from the Visiograph about Ray Bradbury's story Death Wish. So not very popular with the Planet Stories readers, but I thought it was pretty good. You should check it out and let me know what you think about it. All right. Next up, we have Jesus on Mars by Philip José Farmer. And what I'm about to share with you is taken from an early draft of a fanzine article that's coming out next month in Farmer Fan number 3, which if you're into Philip José Farmer, and you should be, you should check out our fanzine at farmerfan.com. Anyway, one part utopia, one part Christological treatise, one part ambiguous gospel, Jesus on Mars represents the kind of mature philosophical rumination that exemplifies Farmer. Though the novel is less heavy on action and adventure than many of his other works, it is a truly Farmerian romp of the intellect that any science fiction reader interested in speculative religion will enjoy. Earth has sent out the first manned mission to Mars to uncover a crashed spaceship newly discovered on the surface. When the expedition arrives, they find a seemingly utopian society of Jews, human and alien alike, living underground beneath a nuclear-powered false sun. The Earth people are told that inside the sun dwells the titular character of the novel, the literal Jesus Christ. Farmer provides an elaborate backstory for how such a society could exist. In the 1st century CE, the alien Kirsch abducted many humans, including the 13th disciple Matthias and his Libyan Jewish followers. A battle with an enemy alien starship caused the Kirsch and their human captives to crash land on Mars. Matthias and his disciples slowly began to convert the human survivors of the crash. Then, with the miraculous advent of Jesus on Mars, the alien Kirsch were also converted to Judaism. With Jesus as their guide, the Kirsch and humans built a society based on theocratic laws. For example, adultery is illegal, and homosexuality has been engineered out of the genome. While the astronauts hail from democratic socialist societies with secular laws, they're strongly impressed by how the Martian Jews have built a society seemingly free of crime and want. Each of the 4 astronauts has a different religious background. The protagonist, Orm, is a Baptist who believes in the literal truth of the New Testament. Bronsky is a secular Jew whose father is a rabbinical scholar. Danton is a staunch atheist from a Roman Catholic background. Shirzai is a liberal Muslim. Over the course of the novel, Farmer speculates how each religious background would react to the discovery of the real Jesus at the center of a near-perfect society on Mars. Importantly, this Jesus differs from that of the Gospels. He performed no earthly miracles, and there was no earthly resurrection. However, on Mars, he performs miracles. The goal of Martian society is to prepare a return to Earth and convert the masses to Martian Judaism. Orm grapples with what a destructive force the return of Jesus to Earth promises to be. Jesus reminds Orm that he has not come to bring peace, but the sword. Farmer throws the reader a curveball just when one is convinced of the veracity of the Messiah's pedigree. Talking with Orm, Jesus speculates that he, the very Messiah, might actually be an energy being from a solar system with a blue sun. This would explain the long periods he spends in the false sun's nuclear reactor. Despite this, Orm converts to Martian Judaism. Still, even after his conversion, he continues to have his doubts. He wonders if Jesus may be the biblical Antichrist. Indeed, his attitudes toward Jesus continue to evolve until the final pages of the book. It's clear that for the irreligious Farmer, religion offers something that secular salvation schemes do not. It's not happenstance that the Earth in Jesus on Mars is divided between a democratic socialist camp and a communist camp that have both failed to resolve social problems in the way that Martian Jewish society has. Christ is offering the people something their socialistic governments cannot. His immortality treatments and mana machines are more than super science. They're the tools of a trickster come to transform the world. And being a trickster, Christ is very likely not the genuine article. He himself introduced the idea that he might be an energy being from a planet orbiting a blue sun, who has simply mastered powers that all humans could someday have. In his final decision to side with Jesus, Orm recognizes God may be working through an energy being. So, God may be working through an energy being is a pretty Philip José Farmer ending to a novel, and I found the novel to be a pretty thrilling read, and I hope that review made you interested in checking it out. I want to thank you for joining me for the first episode of the new Planetside chats. Hopefully in future episodes we'll have better visuals and you'll be looking at something other than my ugly mug and my messy office. But for now, I want to thank you for bearing with me and have a great day.